Good morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are, and welcome to NerdTube. Today we're talking House of Dragon, Season 1, Episode 7, Driftmark. I'm here with Reverend Jake. How you doing?
Doing all right. Finally caught up.
As all episodes of this show right now, I have to say another chef's kiss of an episode, I may add. Absolutely fantastic. I thought it would be kind of somber with the funeral proceedings and stuff like that, but as it progressed, it just got better and better with some real scene stealing moments during the course of this episode. Moments of fantasy, moments of violence, moments of high tension drama. We got it all in this episode. Before we start talking about it, what do you think?
I was actually surprised that they managed to hold the drama as well as they did in so many of the scenes. Like, I don't want to get too far advanced on where we're going, but I mean, from the birth, right away at the beginning of the episode, you're kind of like, damn, there is a war coming. And I think that they've done a really good job to sow that. Um, Sadly, I don't think we're going to get that war till next season, but we'll save that conversation for later.
Yeah, we have 10 episodes this season, don't we? Or was it 8?
I think it's actually 8. I think we just got the one more to go.
Really? Then I think there might be one more time jump then, unfortunately, from what I know. What the hell, buddy? Sorry, I do apologize. My birds, they like to hang around the back of my computer, and that's where all the wires are. And I'm worried about them and they love chewing on stuff as well. All right. So in this particular episode, we had the funeral for Lenora, I believe her name is, Damon's wife, and he actually giggled during the ceremony, which kind of shows you where his heart is and where he stands. And all the family members were together, all the relatives, distant relatives. Otto's now hand of the king again. I guess with him, it's probably better the devil you know than the devil you don't for someone like Viserys when it comes to having a hand of the king, which obviously means that Lionel Strong is dead from last week's episode.
Yeah.
And so probably it's Tarwyn as well. So Tarwyn and Lionel, they're both dead. I mean, I knew Tarwyn was dead. I wasn't sure about Lionel. Killed, by the way, by their own brother and son.
Yeah.
So
Vile
he's
motherfucker.
yeah, he didn't get much in this episode. Laris, I believe his name is, but he's definitely the little finger of the show. Would you say?
Oh, absolutely trying to fill that role, but a little bit more fucked up than Littlefinger, because
Yeah,
a little
I
bit more
agree.
Ferris in that
Ma-
area.
More Machiavellian for sure.
Or not,
He.
but
But
Fiber.
I think that I would say that there were people Littlefinger cared about, especially the Stark women. He did care about them, but you know, Laris doesn't care about anybody, not even his own father, not even his own brother. He's that much of an arsehole. Considering that they took care of him, when he was being the way that he is, but he's so fucked up in the head. But anyway, this wasn't his episode today. That funeral scene was quite long. We saw Otto at one point seeing a drunk Aegon and like just picking up his. You have to remind yourself like who's related to who and what capacity. That's his grandson, Aegon Targaryen.
Yeah.
Just grabs him, picks him up. Like really pissed off with him because as far as he's concerned, this kid's going to be the heir. He's concerned that is obviously Rhaenyra is claimed as the heir, but if he can change things, he'll make his grandson the heir to the Iron Throne, and seeing his heir to be like a Joffrey light, so to speak. Not very kind of spoiled. Good for nothing. Like to get
Yeah.
drunk.
And we really get that last. I mean, kind of go back in the last episode. You get that with him jerking off the tower and in his Homelander moment.
Yeah.
It would have been a great scene if Homelander hadn't done it better.
That was the same tower that what's his face jumped from, Joffrey's younger brother, when he killed
Probably.
himself. Yeah,
Probably.
yeah,
I wouldn't be surprised if they didn't reuse that set that way.
yeah.
I
From
think-
what I saw reading articles and stuff like that, people were putting two and two together, showing you the similarities between the two locations. it's supposed to be like some sort of hideout place, so to speak, for the royals. So yeah. What else did we get? I mean, in the funeral, we did have all the family members together. We saw some nice moments between Rhaenyra's children and Daemon's children. They seem to have bonded. Holding hands and stuff like that. But
Yeah.
Alicent's kids, they're kind of being a bit outcasted, so to speak. They're not really part of the group, even though they want that bond. That all the families want that bonding amongst them. We do get that moment when Rhaenyra and Daemon are walking along the beach together, and you know what's going to go down. I mean,
Oh yeah.
it was going to happen there and then.
Well, I thought it was going to happen back in episode 2. I was like, okay, those two are going to have sex, and then there was that whole tease bit, and they didn't. And I'm all like, okay, I mean, when are you saving for the season finale or what? And then, well, here it is finally.
Yeah, it seems like Damon's impotence problems have finally ended because he's already got a couple of kids. He was going to have a third until his wife killed himself,
Yeah.
and then so he was able to bang his niece. I mean, I want somebody done a really good meme, of is it Terrence and Howard from South Park, the Canadian characters?
Yeah.
Shut your fucking
There's
face,
no.
Uncle Fucker. You know what I mean? So Rhaenyra is officially an Uncle Fucker. You know what I mean? So yeah, and I do know that they I knew before this. The thing is, unfortunately, because of spoilers and certain things, I did kind of know that they were going to get married, and so I was wondering when that was going to happen. Obviously, it happened in this episode, but they kind of cemented their relationship. And I know I'm going to sound once again very misogynistic, saying this, and I'm really sorry, but Emma Darcy, I never, seeing Day, she's got general neutral pronouns. Seeing Day as the way they are, Day has never. This is so difficult to say in this way, but I never found that particular person attractive. But my God, does Emma Darcy look gorgeous as a Targaryen? You know what I mean? And you should see how they are when they're not dressed as a member of the royal family, because you wouldn't give Day a second glance. But yeah, Emma Darcy, man, that's a fantastic look. Keep it up, honestly. But regardless, and it also shows her range as well, because she comes across as kind of punk rockish
Yeah.
a lot of the times, and she's like playing a very noble person. So fantastic range as well in the acting, for Emma Darcy. Um, So we get an amazing scene with Aemon Targaryen, basically wanting Vagar the dragon, but he's available, or she's available. I'm sorry.
Yeah. I really kind of like the whole thing. I thought it showed his gumption. You kind of got to tease it that other episode where he sneaks into the dragon pit. Like, this boy's got some fucking balls on him, and he's going to be somebody. So that was something I really enjoyed from it. I'm really excited to see where they go with the character and how much more they develop him. I believe I keep feeling like he's supposed to be Bloodraven, but I know that that's not accurate. Bloodraven's like 100 years later or something. But
Well, the name of the dragon or the character.
the character,
Okay.
so yeah, I'm not sure if you're familiar with the books or if you remember, but Bloodraven is the three-eyed crow or the three-eyed raven.
Okay.
His
Played by Max von Sydow.
Yeah, when he
Yeah.
still went back when because he was a Targaryen at some point, and he was known as Bloodraven at that point.
Oh.
So because he dabbled in like weird sorcery and stuff, and I feel like that's supposed to be another generation down yet. But I kind of liked how they had that one Valerian girl like all trying to do like crazy magics and shit. So it kind of reminds you that is a thing going on in this world still, because Bloodraven's a big practitioner of actual magic theoretically. And it'd be cool to see some of those more fantastical elements return to the show. I miss it. It's what I like about Game of Thrones and why I'm not excited for the spin-off, but I'm really tangenting there.
Yeah. George R. R. Martin talked about the alchemy arts of Game of Thrones, and there's like a variety of different types of magic. You know, there's different ways of doing magic as well, which I find very fascinating too. And I love to see all these variations, and sometimes the magic is not really necessarily magic; it's just science, but
Yeah,
people look at it as magic. You know, so yeah. But we
yeah,
see Aemon Targaryen taking on Vagar, the biggest dragon on the fleet. Give me a second.
yeah. I think it was kind of interesting watching him take on Vagar and do that. Just like for a second, I almost thought he might actually get burned or eaten or something, and I was like, "Damn, let's do it! Let's do it! Another death." But it didn't happen, so whatever. It was still pretty good to watch him actually get the dragon though and take the ride. Um, and like I was really surprised that everyone was upset with him claiming the dragon. Like I kind of felt like he said he got to it first, so he deserved it.
Yeah, he did. I mean, he claimed it. I like the way the dragon was like, "What the fuck, mate? What do you want?" As soon as he sees him,
Yeah,
and then eventually the dragon lets him climb. You know, he speaks Valerian to the dragon. You know, that's the only way the dragons that knows things by through Valerian, and then he gets on it. And I'll tell you what, yeah, like he almost killed himself flying that dragon. Like he didn't strap himself in or nothing. He was just holding onto ropes and reins. You know, one
yeah, that's
slip
how
up
you
and
do
he's
it.
dead. Yeah, but I'll tie myself in, you know. But nevertheless, he got the dragon. He flew around with it. You know, he's really happy. Lands it. I think a few people saw him flying the dragon. I think after Damon and Rhaenyra, you know, got finished their little thing, they saw the dragon flying around as well, but couldn't probably tell who was on it. And then when he gets back and he's about to sneak back into his place, we get one of the best fight scenes I've ever seen in Game of Thrones. This fight scene was fantastic. I really loved this scene. This scene was brutal and it had kids in it. You know, when
Yeah,
they're throwing haymakers and hooks and right on the jawbone and stuff like that. Initially, um, one of Lenora's children, or both of them, they uh, see him coming back and ask him what is up, and said that he's got the dragon. It was supposed to go to Lenora's daughter. She's really pissed off that she didn't get it. You know, but he claimed it. Finders keepers. First come first serve, whatever you want to call it. And then they start beating each other up. And credit to Eamon, like he's like 4-on-1. You know what I mean?
yeah.
He's got the two daughters of Damon, and he's got the two sons of Rhaenyra, all fighting him, and he's holding his own. He really is. And yeah, it gets a bit deadly because once you start seeing like blunt objects and knives coming into play, you think, okay, this is going to turn south really quick. And I thought somebody might get stabbed, but it was just as bad. Eamon, after all the beautiful punches, they're all landing on each other and all the brutality. Uh, Eamon gets his eye slashed. What do you think of that?
Yeah, I mean, losing an eye is well, he put it right though. He gained a dragon and traded an eye for it. It's kind of worth it though. I mean, if he would have been smart about it, he could have kept his eye and gained a dragon. Um, I think he should have caught on that he was outnumbered and just kind of let it go. And instead, he really does egg that fight on and make sure it continues. Even when he does get an upper hand with that rock, he's only using it to try to make the situation worse for himself. So I think he definitely deserved to lose the eye, but I think that was really the resounding split in between Alicent and Rhaenyra. Like there will never be any kind of reconciliation after that.
What do you think of the actual fight though between those kids? Like they're throwing some lethal punches at each other.
Well, I mean, you have to imagine all these kids are being trained to be knights and warriors. They're being trained for this, and you kind of do get a sense of that earlier was it the last episode? I'm sorry, where you get the sense of that when they're being trained and how to fight, quite specifically. So I think it really does kind of tie in. It makes sense that they're all throwing these crazy fights, and it goes pretty nuts. There's a lot of bad blood between these families. So, but I was kind of surprised to see such an immediate bad blood between. Well, I like the girls, who are Damon's kids. I think they felt like they were robbed, but at the same time, I don't think that they were throwing crazy punches or that would have escalated through them. It was really about the bad blood between Rhaenyra's kids and Alicent's kids, which my understanding is really what the majority of this show is going to be about, is the fight between them. And then all of season one is time skipping just so you can understand the backstory of how they were raised and why
Mm-hmm.
their parents hate each other on top of it. But I think we're going to get to a lot of the fun stuff when we see them next season and they've been time skipped again.
Yeah, I agree. So we come to one of the most tense scenes in the show. Is when all the families are together now. Like talking about what just happened. And who's to blame? Who initially Viserys is blaming his knights because the knights are the ones who stop the fight in the first place. But they've already arrived too late. Aemon's lost an eye, and then the Maester's stitching up the eye and all of that. And we have the blame game now, and like they're all blaming each other, all demanding, you know, um, satisfaction, so to speak, by wanting each other to be punished. Alicent probably feels the one most hard done by
Yeah.
initially, but we get a blame game going on here, and we about people being insulted for particular reasons, and then then Eamon, he
Reason.
pushes, yeah, he pushes the blame onto Aegon, saying Aegon knows why, and then Aegon says, "Well, everybody knows why, like everybody knows. Nobody's here to say it,
Right.
My cousins are bastards, just
And
look at them,
right.
it's brilliant,
Very true. Just look at them.
yeah,
You don't
have,
have, his dad's all platinum blonde, mom's platinum blonde, kid's black. Being
yeah.
black. Yeah. I mean,
Oh, oh, also, in my opinion, I mean, this is not 100% true, but it wasn't with Jon Snow. But in my opinion, the male side of the family is the dominant side when it comes to hair color, because Viserys' his kids are all white haired, even though Alicent isn't. Um,
yeah, I don't know if that's actually true or not. Um, because like you said, Jon Snow is the opposite way. I know that from my understanding, what it's supposed to be is black is like predominantly a strong trait. Um, but yeah, it's a good point. You would think that his kids would have darker hair because of
yeah,
or Allison.
yeah,
Or
exactly.
isn't she
And
more of an auburn?
sorry,
Isn't she more of an auburn hair?
I mean, yeah, she could be pretty much any hair color. I mean, it's just that it's not the same as. I mean, it's not remotely. It's not even like a blondish in any capacity. But it's just seeing all of these families bicker, and there you see Damon just leaning up against the wall, having the time of his life. He's a real shit stirrer. He's like the Joker of House of Dragon. He's just enjoying everything going to shit, and just the bickering as well. And then finally, like Alison, like she gets Kristen Cole to slice an eye off one of Rhaenyra's children, and like Kristen Cole is between a rock and a hard place because he's beholden to the Queen, but he can't be doing that at the same time. Even he knows that. So I
Well, he
can't
was
remember what he's. Sorry,
he was totally gonna do it though.
I think he was, but then you would know that would mean that the knights would probably fight each other because one knight would do it, whilst the other knight would have to stop him. And then when the two women actually came into clash, these two girls were best friends as children. Alicent and Rhaenyra.
Yeah.
Like Aemon Targaryen is Rhaenyra's half brother, for fuck's sake. Like it's crazy, but regardless, they come into blows, and Alicent's about to stab somebody, but she ends up almost stabbing Rhaenyra, and the knights don't know what to do, but they can't physically manhandle these women. I
Yeah.
mean, they'll come across as assaulting them, even though they're trying to stop them. And it ends with Alicent cutting Rhaenyra's arm. And like Viserys is in a real tough place as well. This is his daughter. These are his grandchildren. These are his children. He doesn't want anybody to get hurt,
Yeah.
and he does do the right thing, but instead of causing more bloodshed, an eye for an eye type shit. He just wants to end it. Corliss as well, like even he's involved in it to a degree as well. But he's lost his dragon. That theoretically, that dragon belongs to him and his family,
Yeah.
and he's lost that dragon, and his children have been beating up his daughters. It's crazy, man.
Yeah.
It's absolutely. It's just. Oh god, there's so much. It's just so that seed was fantastic. It really was. It was absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, it was really great. I really wonder what the repercussions in the long term are going to be, because it's like, that House Valerian doesn't exist in the Game of Thrones timeline. Like by then they have been wiped out. So I think like somewhere in the storyline they're gonna get wiped out. And so just kind of watching them lose a dragon is important. And now they don't have any kids anymore. Well, at least they don't think they have any kids anymore.
Well, they got grandchildren. They got two daughters, but their line ends with their daughters. Yeah, because but their daughters are not sons. The name continues with sons, not their daughters.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, I mean, the son's not going to have any sons anyways, so it doesn't really make a difference.
Yeah, exactly. It's really confusing. And then we do see a moment between Lenor and Rhaenyra when they're talking, and like Lenor is like kind of he's just never around when he needs to be around. He's always fucking some dudes somewhere. And I have to say, there's a person called Jessie Gender who I watch on YouTube, and she makes a good point. Like people have character traits, but if you're a gay character, your trait is gay. You know what I mean? It's not your personality, it's your character trait. And to a degree, Lenor's character trait is gay. So instead of like having other personality traits, what he's doing is just going around fucking dudes. You know what I mean? When he should be, and that's his character trait. And I found it makes sense. I mean, until she brought it up, I never really thought of that. But basically, I look at him as someone who's just irresponsible and he's just not living up to his duties. And he finally says to Rhaenyra, "I'll be there for you. I'll stick by you. I'll be a husband for you, and all of that." But Rhaenyra is already thinking elsewhere, because at this particular point, she's looking to be a power couple with her uncle. But they've already consummated their relationship by shagging on the beach. Who knows? She might be pregnant with his son or daughter already. But they decide to get married, which is why I'm wearing this shirt today, because this was the closest shirt I could think of. And it was to do with the marriage ceremony. Because when you see them getting married, they cut each other's lips and stuff like that. They cut each other's hands, so their bloods are mixing and stuff like that.
Yeah, very symbolic.
And exactly, Damon's children, her children, they are all like they're half brothers now. Sorry, they're step brothers now, step sisters. Even though they're cousins as well. It's so fucking confusing. I mean, or uncle and auntie, so it's hard to say. But they're all related now, and they've become a power couple, and this is going to make them an unstoppable force. If she inherits the throne, he becomes king consort. So this is a good move for him as well by marrying her, and this puts Alicent in a strange position. Now we do also see some more of Otto Hightower, and we see the King of the Hand badge on him. It's a shame that we never really got any interactions between Viserys and Otto in this episode.
Yeah.
Just to see the fact that he has become handed the king again, obviously by default. But Otto's kind of proud of his daughter, showing that she's got some spunk in her. That she's got some fight. Something he never realized that his daughter had. But he knows it's a game. He almost calls it the Game of Thrones himself. This is a game, and you have to play the game and stuff like that. But she's got an ace up her sleeve herself, and that is Larys. So we'll see how Larys comes into play in the future.
Yeah,
Did you say?
I'm a little creeped out by Laris at all times, so I think he's done his character well in that regard. I was surprised that he killed his dad. I understand him killing his brother for the inheritance, but his dad seemed a little extra. So like, why are they doing that? And just also like, okay, so he hired these three cat's paws from jail and cut their tongues out to make them do it, but like that doesn't make them master assassins. Like you have to train someone to be a master assassin, and those guys were in jail, so it kind of surprised me that everything went off as smoothly as it did. But I suppose the right time, the right people, and with him being, of the family, he might have been able to provide them with the information to make it work. I think it's interesting how he blackmails the queen, and he's like, "Yeah, well, you wanted this." So, there's a lot to be said about his character and what can come. And I think I'd like to see him interact with Otto Hightower. You're like, "Oh, Otto Hightower's back," and it's like, well, does Mr. Harrenhal like that? Because he seems to be pulling the most strings out of anybody right now. Because really, the Queen pulls the king strings, and apparently now Mr. Harrenhal is going to be pulling the Queen strings. So I think that'll be interesting as we go further into the series.
You see, I want to know what his game is because we always knew what Littlefinger wanted. Littlefinger wanted the Iron Throne. Now, I think Laris is not ambitious in that particular way. He knows there's no chance of him getting it. So I wonder what he wants. Obviously, he probably wants more power, but
Yeah.
maybe be handed the king. I mean, that's about as powerful as he can get. But if he's able to, the problem with Laris is that if he's able to kill his own brother and father, then he will kill anybody. If he can kill people who are the closest people to him, people who took care of him,
Yeah.
then he can kill he'll have no problem killing a queen or anything, kids, whatever it may be. So yeah, I don't think making a deal with him is literally like making a deal with the devil. But the problem with Laris is that he can't afford to be found out. Because if he ever gets found out, he's dead. He can't defend himself. He's a bloody guy. He's a cripple. You know what I mean? He's not. So he has to play a very very good game. So okay. So with now Rhaenyra having Laenor basically commit himself to her, but she's also committing herself to Daemon by marrying him. Now that they're both kind of got, well, I mean, we don't really realize that Laenor's no longer part of Rhaenyra's life until the end of the episode, but it makes sense why they got married, Daemon and Rhaenyra. I mean, Damon didn't mess around. Like I think within a day of his wife getting buried, he's already marrying someone. You just see his kids there as well, and he's marrying Rhaenyra. Like Jesus Christ, this guy's got no remorse, man. He laughs at his wife's wedding, and then he marries his niece the following day. And it's absolutely incredible.
I don't know. I
Uh,
got the impression that he was really kind of, I mean, not 100%, but at least slightly sad about her death. And that, he did, he called out that he was mourning. And I kind of get the impression that it was a little bit of time in between the planning and the plotting and him hooking up with Rhaenyra. I don't think it was like the next day he's got that thing on lockdown.
oh,
Uh,
I didn't really see any time pass, but regarding the morning, like the guy showed no sort of sentiment towards his children at all. Like in the previous episode when his wife died, he's standing in the area with his kids, but not with his kids. And during the whole course of this funeral, you don't see him hugging his children or anything.
no.
You know what I mean? So he's always giving all he cares about is Daemon, old Daemon Targaryen. So yeah, so I'm a bit concerned about his children. I think they're gonna. I think they might cop it soon as well.
Yeah,
Especially with Alicent looking for revenge.
I get a feeling not a lot of kids are going to make it through this. I don't think either of Robert Strong's bastard kids are going to make it through. Um,
Robert, you mean Tywin?
yeah, sorry, my bad.
No problem.
Uh, I don't think any of Strong's are going to make it through. Um, yeah, I think that they're going to die. Probably the girls too, just because. Well, honestly, just because they don't match up with what we see later on in the series, and I don't agree with it, but I think that will happen. Um, I just don't
Now,
think anyone related to House Viserion, or not Viserion, but House
Valerian.
Valerian, thank you, is going to make it through. Just none of them.
Well, we still see that Corlys has got a lot of ambition. He wants that Iron Throne. Like he was talking to his wife about it. It still pisses him off that she wasn't made queen, which is why she's the queen that never was.
Yeah.
Now, Rhaenyra Rez, I think her name is, the queen that never was. She's kind of accepted her fate, but Corlys hasn't. And he, like his wife calls him out and like says, "Look, you know, you're still ambitious for the throne. I accept it. I accept for what it is. You still want it, and obviously he wants it in various ways by trying to marry into it, and all of that sort of stuff. But you can see that he still thinks about it. That Iron Throne. He wants it so fucking badly. Excuse me.
God
Now,
damn.
now let's get to the finale of this episode, and we have the assassination of Lenore, or the so-called assassination of Lenore, because you know to really I can't say the word, just to make the marriage legit between Damon and Rhaenyra, Lenore has to be out the picture. You know, it's funny they a little, just to go on Lenore a little bit. You can see how grief stricken he was throughout this episode, because that wasn't just his sister who died; that was his twin sister, and you know about the bond between twins and stuff like that. So you can see he was like he was really heartbroken and everything. And even there's one point where Corlys, during the course of the funeral, tells his new lover to go out there and get your man. You know what I mean? Because he's like, look, you're making himself look pathetic and weak by standing in the waters. And this was all at Dragonstone, I believe, wasn't it? It looked like it was at Dragonstone.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. So, yeah. So,
Because I went,
um,
no, I bet you it was at Driftmark, because that's what it's called, Driftmark.
oh, Driftmark. That's the area. Okay, fair enough. I had no idea what Driftmark meant, but
Oh,
now
it's,
if
yeah,
it's
that's the House of Seat Valerian. That's like their castle.
okay, okay. So, obviously Lenore has to be out the picture, but it kind of shows you what Rhaenyra is like as a person, because as much as Otto initially thought that Rhaenyra would kill off Alicent's children, which kind of made her all paranoid and stuff in the first place, and has made her the person she thought. I think in a way, kind of made her the person she thought Rhaenyra would be. Rhaenyra is not really like that. So much so that even though her and her husband Lenore have got not anything in common, they can't even fuck each other because he can't get out for her. But he bats for the other side. He doesn't want him dead. It could be easy for her to kill him, but she creates an elaborate plan. So you see Lenore and his lover fight each other over what, I forget. Do you know why they fought each other? I mean, the
But
stage of
you
it.
always look down on me. You forget your
Uh,
station. It was like the most contrived bullshit ever.
exactly, and they had a witness there, that young lad who witnessed it all, and then he runs off to get somebody, and then they find somebody who happens to look a lot like Lenore, even though he was burnt in the fireplace. Now, you said it was a guard, yeah?
Yeah, I was saying, because right before the fight scene takes place, you see Damon sneak up and kill this guard from behind out of nowhere. And you're kind of like, well, okay. So at first I was thinking, like, okay, he's setting it up so that there can be the assassination, like he's killing the guard to get that guy in the room or whatever. But no, I think that they use that guard as the body double.
Yeah, I'm just saying, there doesn't seem to be many mixed race people on the island. So even if the body was burnt, things like the hands, the legs, the lower torso wouldn't be if they ever exposed that skin. I know I'm just getting into unnecessary detail here, but
Oh, I think the guy
yeah.
he killed was a mixed race as well. Had
Oh,
kind of
fair enough.
the same kind of skin tone. Uh,
Okay.
that's kind of why I put it together. And in fact, now I am double checking here because I've got it open, of course, in the tab to the side here. Let's see here. Here's the camera. Oh, there it is. The dude is definitely mixed race.
Okay, I missed that. That's okay. It makes total sense now. But
57 interested.
yeah, this is the thing though, because this is like Leno's out the picture. He's presumed dead. Fair enough. His partner, his boyfriend, on the other hand, he's now wanted man for murder. You know, so
But he
even though Leno's sorry,
he still gets away though because it's those
yeah,
two
he
and
gets away, but he will be hunted for the rest of his life. You know, he's killed a high ball. He's killed a person of high ranking, so to speak. You know, the princess's daughter. I mean, princess's husband. You know, the possible future king consort. You know, if he lived that long. You know, so
do you think Damon's going to have them killed in the free cities? Do you think he was just luring them into the free cities so
well,
that
this is the thing. This is the thing that I don't think Damon knows. You know, or maybe he does. I was thinking two things: either Damon is aware of this, or he doesn't know. You know, obviously it could be one of those two things. It sounds so. I'm sorry for saying so stating the obvious, but it might be a plan by Rhaenyra. You know, because this would not be good for Damon. If Damon had his way, he would kill him. I don't think he gives a flying fuck.
I
You
got the
know,
I get the impression this was all planned by the two of them because they kind of keep cutting back to that conversation of the two of them, like on a dockside or something, or waterside somewhere, and they keep going back to that conversation the whole time that this plan is being executed. So I kind of got the impression the two of them planned all of this out and kind of agreed to it. That all being said, I think Damon's going to go behind her back and have him killed as soon as he gets to the free cities. But I think it's a little bit more of a sticky situation to kill him on Driftmark or anywhere in the or the well, I think at this point it's only six in the Six Kingdoms because everyone knows who he is. He's super high profile, but once he's running on the lam trying to pretend like he's nobody, well, it's easy to kill a nobody.
yeah, I
Um,
agree. I agree. I mean, he'll be running to Essos for sure. You
yeah,
know, but he's giving up a very prominent life. But that's what I guess that's what it means if you want to be who you want to be. But I guess to a degree, who he wants to be is royalty. He also has a dragon as well. He's probably giving that up too. Um,
does he have a dragon? I thought he didn't.
yeah, he did. He did. He, remember, I remember him flying it in the Stepstones in the previous episode when they were fighting the crab feeder. But that's the younger version of him. I saw him. I 100% saw him flying a dragon when they were fighting in the Stepstones. If you look at the earlier episodes, you'll see it. Maybe episode 3.
I'm not sold on this, to be honest. When I search my memory, I feel like you're the one who's mistaken, but one of us is mistaken,
No,
and
I guarantee it. I'm willing to bet my testicles on it. Like we saw him. We saw the younger version of that character. He's fighting on the Stepstones with his dad and his uncle. Yeah, and Daemon Targaryen as well. And we see him. There's a clip of him flying on a dragon. He's on the dragon.
I don't think
He has
so.
a. Yeah, I think so. I'm willing to bet my testicles. You know what I mean?
Hey, well,
Well, the thing is, I'm very much aware of this thing. You're having to think about it. So trust me, I'm.
no, I'm having to think of it because you're saying something, and because you're so adamant, and I'm giving you the benefit of the doubt and trying to think about it. But I really don't think he does.
Well, then I recommend watching the episode and then getting back to me.
Okay.
Okay, or just watching that scene. But yeah, like I said before, it is the younger version of him, the version of him that lost Joffrey, his boyfriend, in that wedding, and that was the following episode, I believe. So, or the
Because I mean,
one
that would
after
have been the
that.
episode where they kill the Crab King.
The episode where they killed the Crab King, you see him on the dragon
All right,
earlier
I'll go
on.
back and I'll rewatch the whole part where they kill the Crab King and see if I see him.
He's definitely on either that episode or episode 2, but I think it's episode 3, where you see him flying. But yeah, for sure.
I feel like you should go back and find him and then say, "Ha, he's right there." Because
No, because it's a Stepstone episode to do with the Crab King, and the Crab King only lasted two episodes.
that's 3,
That's
but yeah.
yeah. So it's either 2 or 3, but I think it's definitely. I'm more likely on 3. Yeah, because we didn't get much of it. We didn't even get the Stepstones on 2. So yeah, definitely 3. You know what I mean? We only saw a little bit of it at the beginning, at the end, but when it came to the actual Stepstones, we kind of saw them in 3. So yeah. So but yeah, regardless, he's now leaving his old life. I mean, like we already saw with Rhaenyra that she could have given up her life and run away with Kristen Cole, but that wasn't happening because she wants to be queen. She wants all that power. Now, is it going to be the same for Lenore? Because will he regret leaving all that power? Because he's a very powerful person, regardless of running away with his boyfriend, which is very gay and tropey in my opinion, which is something I don't like. Oh, because he's gay, he's going to leave his life behind him and run away with the man of his dreams. That's a trope. It's a
I don't
trope.
think
It's a bad.
I don't think it was he's going to run away and live with the life of his dreams. Because I mean, before that, they have the whole scene where he's like, begging essentially with Rhaenyra to not kill him in so many words, and like, I'm going to be a better father. I should have been there at the thing when that happened last night, but I wasn't there to defend my kid's bloodline and my honor. And I'm going to be a better dad. I promise. I'm going to be. He's like pleading with her. And I
But
think that
I like what Rhaenyra said, that should be our house name. It should have been there.
our house motto. Yeah,
Yeah.
our house motto. I
But
should have been.
he doesn't ever seem to be there. I mean, like
Well,
he
not
seems to be like he wasn't even there for the birth of his child. Well, it wasn't
well,
his child, but he
well,
wasn't
back
there
to
for
what
his.
you were saying with the trope. I don't think it is that trope. I think this is him running for his life. He was basically told, "You're going to be murdered, or you can run away. These are your
Yeah, I
choices."
agree with that. I do agree with the fact that now she's like teaming up with Damon. He will be expendable.
Yeah,
So
I don't think he had a choice in the matter.
well, he shaved off his locks, and you see him
Yeah,
now with a bald head, and I don't think this is the last we'll see of him. I'm sure he'll come back, to maybe haunt Damon at some particular point. If we do believe that Damon thinks that he is dead, it's just hard to say. Like
I think Damon's going to have him killed.
Damon either knows that he's not dead and he'll have him killed. Damon thinks that he is dead, and then he'll come back to haunt Damon. Maybe Damon's cool with him and doesn't want him to. I mean, there's so many variables. Permutations. It's yeah, it could go anywhere. But yeah, another great episode. I thought, seeing young Eamon, the middle child, um, have such a prominent role in this episode, and was pretty cool. I mean, I actually got to know his name in this episode. I had no idea who he was until they mentioned his name. As far as I was concerned, he was the kid that they pranked the pig on. But that was good. That was good foreshadowing, a good setup for this particular moment. And like, it was a real fantasy moment when he was flying on that dragon. It really was like proper fantasy, a kid, dragon, all of that sort of stuff. And then it became Game of Thrones when the children are fighting each other and stuff like that. Brilliant, excellent episode.
Yeah.
So I think it's about time we mark it now. What would you like to give it?
For an episode, I think I'm going to give it a 9. There's a lot of really good political intrigue. There was some excellent action scene amongst the kids, as you were mentioning. It was shot really well for being a bunch of kids, and it kept you on your toes in there, and it did have that epic fantasy, like you mentioned a moment ago, of him riding, and that's everything you look for in a Game of Thrones. The only thing I could have wanted more of was more magic, but I don't think we're going to get any of that in this show, really. So I'll give it a 9 and move on merrily.
Maybe not in Westeros, but maybe in Essos. Essos is like the land of magic to a degree. I mean, obviously, certain parts of the north, where the wall is and stuff like that, there might be a bit of magic there as well. But
I
I
think it
think of
depends on
Essos.
if you're watching the show or reading the books.
Fair enough. Fair enough. So I'm also going to give it a 9. Simply because it's just like I'm watching a show right now where I'm really worried that I'm going to get a dud at some point, and so far every episode has just been better and better. I mean, until like the show started getting into its stride, maybe 2 or 3 episodes ago, and now I'm just expecting this level of quality in every episode I'm watching. It's so good. Like the scene with the children fighting each other, I thought somebody was going to get killed. When the knife came out in the blunt object, I really thought somebody was going to get killed, and you couldn't tell, if somebody was going to get killed or not. Like the dragon scene was fantastic. The tension between all the families fighting about whose kid was at fault was fantastic. And just like like the chess pieces being moved with the interactions between certain characters like Otto and Alicent and Damon and Rhaenyra and Rhaenyra and Laenor, and just Viserys being so oblivious to everything. Um, it's just so good. You know, I review a show every day for this channel, almost every day, and out of all the shows I review, this is the best one. Nothing comes close to it. Not Quantum Leap, not Andor, not Lower Decks, not She-Hulk, definitely not Lord of the Rings, even though the most recent episode was pretty good. This is the best show of the lot. This is my favorite show on the television right now. This is the best show since The Boys, and The Boys itself was the best show since Game of Thrones. So
Whoa.
I'm
Since
well between.
Game of Thrones is a good show.
No, I'm saying The Boys was the best show since Game of Thrones.
I know you're saying that like Game of Thrones was good, and it wasn't.
Well, Game of Thrones fell apart at the end, but as everyone said, I like. I mean, yeah. I mean, I'm just personally. I mean, I know your opinion on it, but most people feel like the show just didn't have a satisfactory ending, and you could just tell that they rushed it. But nevertheless, the shows after that, I can't really think of anything as good as The Boys. I mean, The Boys was like the best superhero show I've seen. All the superhero stuff that we get, that was the best because it's adult orientated. It kind of shows that the stuff. Sorry?
Umbrella Academy this year, season 2 of that or 3 of that was better than season 2 of The Boys or whatever.
I don't mind Umbrella Academy, but I've never loved it as much as a lot of people do. I think it's just all right. I find it all right. I think it drags a little bit, as well.
Last season was all right. This season, I thought, nailed it.
Yeah, I like with another end of the world catastrophe. Is like, okay, we're doing this again. It feels like every season is that's the hallmark of each show, and so it just lost its originality for me by the third season. I'm not saying I didn't enjoy it. Yes, I guess it's the whole point, but it's the same point. You know what I mean? It'd be nice, maybe a bit more like a different take on things, but nevertheless, I didn't mind Umbrella Academy, but The Boys and this adult orientated show, proper adult orientated show, sex, violence, gore, all of that sort of stuff. Swearing, no holding back.
I felt the
shock value.
But this isn't a Boys review. So
The Boys.
I agree with you. House of Dragon's probably the best thing on right now. Going back into House of Dragon, it's probably the best thing on there. But I also am not caught up with Andor, which I'm actually hearing really good things about, which is surprising me. So I got to get caught up on that before I can really say much
It's a slower burn compared to others, and it's not got that kiddish cartoon formula that a lot of Disney Plus shows have. Obviously, it's not breaking any boundaries like Disney Plus shows tend to not do anyway. But at the same time, it's trying to take itself a bit more seriously. I
think WandaVision might have broken a little bit of boundaries here and there, just with the unique format. But yeah, I mean, I don't think
the boundary breaking is stuff like is once again The Boys. Like when you got people going into a man's penis and and enlarging himself and stuff like that. Absolutely hilarious. Like the racism angles. It's like some of the stuff on The Boys. It's like one episode of The Boys. You wouldn't imagine any of that being on Disney Plus. If Disney Plus can do the sort of stuff that the non-Disney Plus channels are doing, like Netflix, like Amazon, like HBO even, then they're breaking boundaries. But until then, they're just basically pushing the limit. They're not breaking a boundary.
I don't think you necessarily need to have that level of shock value in adult content to break a boundary, so to speak. I'm more concerned with the storytelling than I am the shock value. I felt like season 3 of The Boys was nothing but shock value, whereas season 1 was using it in artistic and creative ways. But I digress on all of that here. House of the Dragon, I think it's a good show. It actually gives me hope for the Jon Snow offshoot show, but I don't
care about that. I really don't care about that. Honestly, because then people will be looking for fan service galore with all the people who did survive the final season of Game of Thrones, like Tyrion Lannister. Oh, is he Tyrion Lannister at all? Will he pay a visit to the wall? Like regarding regarding boundary breaking, like stuff like WandaVision, stuff like that, you could see those shows being on Amazon Prime, being on Netflix, and stuff like that, just being regular shows. No, but I'm just saying those same shows which are on Amazon Prime and on Netflix. So
who cares if you could see it on Amazon? Amazon didn't do it.
Yeah, and Disney Plus hasn't done The Boys because they won't do it. They can't do it.
Right, but that doesn't mean that.
So they're not breaking boundaries. You know what I mean? Because that's not boundary breaking. That's them being restricted.
I think you seem to think that the only boundary that exists is adult content.
It is adult content. They can't do PG-13.
There are other boundaries in adult content.
But I'm just saying, for them to try something new, is that's the only boundary they haven't broken. I mean, everyone else can do everything that Disney Plus is doing. They can do it no problem because it's not boundary breaking. They could do shows on superheroes. They could do a show on a superhero. Sorry?
But they don't do it. I'm not going to Amazon Prime on a regular basis to watch cool shows on Amazon Prime.
Amazon Prime has Invincible. I mean, they don't have the sort of the characters that Disney possess. I mean, people like Scarlet Witch are renowned characters, so they're able to do a show about her basically taking over a whole city and putting them under mind control. Fair enough, that's great, but it's not out of the reach of Amazon doing something like that themselves. They could if they had the sort of characters to do that with, renowned characters, but they don't.
But even outside of that, like, okay, let's take Hotel Transylvania for example. It's a kid film, right?
I haven't seen any of them.
Perfect. That's perfect. Neither have I. Well, I've seen a couple, sadly, because I have a kid. But the point being that Amazon Prime went and did their own new. It's like the fifth movie in the series of this Hotel Transylvania shit, right? But you can't go there and watch parts 1 through 4 because they don't own that shit. And that's the thing with Disney is that they own all of their shit. So you go there and it's a collection. You go to Amazon and 90% of the stuff they're trying to get you to pay extra for. And that's why they're losing that streaming war. That's why they don't have. Right. So, I mean, you want to talk about boundaries, take it with the boundary of actually owning a collection and creating.
Okay, fine. Look, they are at this particular moment in time, they currently own the character of Kingpin. And we saw how they Disney-fied the fuck out of him the moment he came on their channel compared to what he was on Netflix. A man who decapitated a guy's head with a car door on Netflix ends up being Disney-fied, totally Disney-fied, when he should have killed Kate Bishop when he had the chance. He didn't. He just tried to swat her away like a fly, but he was focused on her mum. When he should have grabbed Kate Bishop, put her in front of her mum, and broke her in half. That's what Kingpin would do on Netflix. He didn't do that on Disney Plus. Now we're going to be getting Daredevil.
I don't know on Disney. Kingpin would do that on Netflix.
Well, he's killed lots of people on this.
Yeah, Matt Murdock doesn't have any superhuman strength.
Matt Murdock, end of the day, is the hero. He's going to live. I'm just saying. What I'm trying to say is that he wouldn't swat her aside because he'd be focusing. He would try to kill Kate Bishop. So Kate Bishop and him should have a fight where Kate Bishop obviously overcomes him. But that's what I'm trying to say. Like he was ignoring her. Like you're an inconvenience to me. I want to kill your mum. When, in my opinion, because he's so psychotic, he would try to kill Kate Bishop in front of her mum. If he couldn't get to her mum, that's all Kingpin is. And on top of that, we're going to be getting Daredevil now. We're going to see how much. We're going to see how Disney-fied he's going to be.
Or is that who Kingpin is in a different series that you watch?
Well, no, that's Vincent D'Onofrio's Kingpin from Daredevil on Netflix, who's now being put on
a completely different universe.
on Disney Plus because people wanted that particular person to play him. Now we're going to be getting Daredevil. We're going to see him being Disney-fied, and unfortunately, we're going to get Blade. This is the guy here who says that some motherfucker tried to ice skate up a hill. That motherfucker there, he's going to get Disney-fied too, and then Punisher. Oh my god!
When you talk about Disney-fied, I don't. You sound exactly to me like people who say that Little Mermaid can't be black. Because it's fictional, to me, it rings very much the same. It rings very much.
You're doing me a disservice.
Isn't presented in exactly this way. I'm never going to be able to appreciate that character in any way, shape, or form. And it's bullshit. It's absolute
I
bullshit.
no, because these are R-rated characters who have been in
They're
R-rated.
not R-rated characters. You saw them in an R-rated fashion and decided
Exactly,
that
and
that's the only form
I
that
would
they
like them
would
to. I would
accept
like them
as
to
being
remain
that character.
R-rated. I don't want them to be, like someone like Punisher. Imagine all he does is like tie people's hands behind their backs and say, "Here you go, copper."
Who says they're not going to? They added the 18 plus. They're also
slaughtered people.
tying in stuff that they did from Hulu. They're bringing Hulu in together. They're merging the two services, so they're definitely heading towards more adult content.
Well, I'll see it when I'll believe it when I see it. At the
But I
moment,
don't think
I've already seen
content for it to be good, and I think that to sit here before it's been released and assume that it's going to be shit.
Well, I've already seen that with Kingpin.
Content is a stupid way to think of things.
I've
All
already
you're
seen that
doing is setting yourself up to hate it before you give it a chance.
Well, unfortunately, with Phase 4, the way it's been all mollycoddled this particular time now, especially because it's got full Disney influence on it, and people have seen. I've been pretty much complaining about how terrible Phase 4 is, apart from Spider-Man: No Way Home. It leaves you concerned. It can't help you but leave you, because people want stuff to be taken a bit more seriously, and they want the characters that they appreciated initially watching to remain that way, not changed in a way that's more marketable for Disney, like Kingpin was.
Well, everything's
anyway
in a way that makes it more marketable for Disney.
But yeah, exactly. It doesn't mean I have to appreciate it.
Galaxy, Iron Man, everybody has been, and it's still been good. So I don't understand this idea where we need to pretend that everything is going to suck, when, like as I always say, at the very worst, this stuff is still good. You look at Eternals or Thor: Love and Thunder. Thor: Love and Thunder isn't even a terrible movie. If you on the standard of movies, it's not a terrible.
Thor: Love and Thunder is fucking terrible. Eternals is fucking terrible. Shang-Chi is fucking terrible. Black Widow is terrible.
Amazing.
The Shang-Chi, it was so good. Shang-Chi, when Shang-Chi went down the mystical route and they went into this alternative universe and stuff like that, it lost me. It should have remained with like triad mafia gangster shit. That was the perfect way for it to be. But then it went into all this mystical stuff. The only mystical stuff should have been the 10 Rings itself, without all this additional shit. Another end of the world scenario. I just got. I had enough. We've been
the world scenarios.
Not everything has to be like. It wasn't like that with Ant-Man. I mean, not every scenario, not everything is the end of the world scenario, but it goes to that. It's tropey. It doesn't have to be tropey. Anyway, look, we're going around in circles. Let's call it a day. This is definitely worthy.
What was your number on today's episode for Game of Thrones?
I gave it a 9. I gave it a 9.
All right.
I thought it was absolutely superb. Absolutely superb. I'm already, if this show is be ending next week, but usually Game of Thrones is 10 episodes a season.
It's 10. I checked it. It's 10.
Okay, fantastic. And they've renewed it for season 2 already. And excuse me, in the past they would have a season come out every year. Nowadays they're like prolonging seasons. They're making it come out every 2 years. Now they've got to stop doing that. Make this show come out fucking next year. You know what I mean? It's like the original Game of Thrones series was. Until the last couple of seasons, and then obviously it changed. But yeah, this show needs to come out every year. This is the best show on television. I can't get enough, and I'm already worried. I'm already concerned that it's already ending. But at least we'll have Willow in November. Yay!
Yeah. So I'd like to see. I'm worried that HBO is going to continue making content. Period. They haven't finished the second half of the first season of The Nevers, which was really good. They canceled Raised by Wolves, which was, at least the first season was fantastic. The second season was okay. I wonder how long I'm going to keep my HBO subscription after this season ends.
Fair enough. I can totally understand. I mean, HBO usually comes up with good stuff anyway. So,
well, not when they cancel everything. Their new business, Daddy Discovery, sucks balls.
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah, that's a shame. I mean, this is going to be their baby now, aren't they? They're probably going to do a million spin-offs of fucking Game of Thrones. I'm not, like I said, I'm not really looking forward to the Jon Snow spin-off. I'd rather have an Arya Stark spin-off. And see.
God, no, please no. Ugh.
No, for me, the map of of Game of Thrones, I find fascinating because they haven't even discovered most of the world. Only a portion of the world's been discovered. Like they haven't gone south really that much. God knows what's south of them. You know, so only like Europe and a tiny bit of Africa.
Well,
And not Far East has been discovered. It's crazy.
yeah, well, I
So
mean, going from the source material that they're all drawing from, I mean, Southros, I don't think we're ever likely to see an adventure there as cool as it could be. And I think, one of the things that I know George Martin is adamant about is not exploring those worlds too much so that they keep a mystery so that it's entertaining. Because if you lose the mystery, you lose a lot of it. I really don't think we'll see anything there. I don't think the Jon Snow spinoff is quite as fan servicey as you're afraid of, but who knows? I think that they're going to try to separate themselves from the end of that show because everyone hates the fucking ending.
yeah, I agree. I'm just trying to find a map right now. 1 second.
Yeah. Um,
Let's have a look at this one.
yeah, I've got the big giant map book that comes with like a whole pile of fold out maps of the entire world all over. It's pretty cool. I got it a few years ago. But yeah, I don't. Like I said, I don't see them exploring SCOs very much. I think they very much have cemented themselves there in Westeros. Though I would love to see some more White Walker shit. So that's why I'm cool with the Jon Snow game. It's because I want to see White Walker shit.
Yeah,
Yeah,
apparently they might have new. So that's all they got up there apparently.
there are other maps that show a little bit more of it, but I mean, again, it's not. It's intentionally not mapped. Like they were saying, some rider rode over it once and couldn't even make it all the way to the end and back, or some crazy shit.
Well, I mean, but if you look at it from like if this planet was the same size as ours, then this would be like Great Britain, and this would be the rest of Europe, like Russia and all of that, and this would be the tip of Africa, North Africa here. Like the world's bigger than that. West of this, there'll be the Americas and South Americas. There'll be
Europe's a
still
lot
more.
bigger.
Sorry.
Europe's a lot bigger than that compared to England too.
Yeah. I'm just maybe like I'll throw in Scandinavia here as well, up here. But I'll just say like this would be like whole of Western Europe and Eastern Europe all here, and a bit of Asia as well. Maybe here, and North Africa here. That's it. Like you haven't got the Far East. You haven't got like the whole of Africa, like the oceanic parts of the world as well, like your Australia and your New Zealand, South America, North America. I mean,
Well, I mean,
there's
it's
so
not.
many God knows what is still to be discovered on this planet. It gets me curious.
Yeah, well, I mean, like I said, again, I think that's the point. Is that it's supposed to. They do it as a writing technique to keep you curious, so that your interest is always piqued about it. And if they fill that in, that air of mystery goes away, and then you're not as interested in it. Whereas if they
Yeah, I
just
agree.
a little bit here and there, I mean, and no, I mean Martin, like I said, has talked about this in interviews. Like I said, I used to read his blog daily religiously. I used to be a really big into Game of Thrones. Song of Ice and Fire. Let's be correct there. But then the show really killed my love of the series because the show was just that bad. Season 2
Well,
onwards.
House of Dragon obviously changing things for you. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I haven't read the book behind it, and that always makes it easier to love something. It's the same thing you're talking about with your love of Kingpin. When you see a version, or you experience a version of something, and you really like it, you can't accept the lesser version of it. And so when I look at the TV show, I'm like, I've read the fucking books for Song of Ice and Fire.
I
They're
I
so much
I
better.
I have liked versions of Kingpin done in other ways, like in the video game, the Spider-Man video game. Kingpin is very good in that. In the in the in
PlayStation
the
4 one?
Yeah, the animated, even though he had a small role in that, I liked him in that. In
Oh,
the
I
an-
hate
in
him in the animated movie. Are you talking about Into the Spider Verse?
No, I couldn't stand him in that. With Miles
Yeah,
Morales, no, he was a caricature in that.
yeah.
Like his whole physique and everything, like this tiny marble of a head and this huge expanded body is. I did like him in
I think all of the characters in that.
in, in, in the animated Spider-Man film, cartoon series of the '90s. I loved him in that.
I don't
I thought
remember enough of
he was really good in that as well. So And Vincent D'Onofrio, he brought a different element to him. Like he was a bit of a Donald Trump sort of character in the cartoons, so to speak. But he could back it up with he could fight. He's like a very physically strong man. Like the guy can break shit with his fists. He's like almost bulletproof physically as well. But Vincent D'Onofrio brought a psychopathic element to him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Maybe not as strong, but definitely psychopathic.
Well, that was one of the things I like about his appearance in the Hawkeye show is that he does regain some of that physical strength, and I would like to see a mix of what they did in of his appearance there with what they did in Netflix. And Netflix, I thought he was a little too unhinged and psycho and less business orientated. I'd like to see a little bit more of that, where he looks more legitimate and it's hard to pin him down. But without him being so off the walls, just angry and no one can talk to him, secret crime boss. I don't want secret crime boss. I want untouchable crime boss.
I want to know how he got his power, because in this, when you read about the stories about him, he learned sumo and he did bodybuilding, which is one of the ways how he got his strength and power, and he became he trained very religiously, and it made him seriously strong, mutant strong, and it also made him almost impenetrable as well. But anyway, I'm just going up. There's so many variations and stuff like that. I could go on forever. Let's wrap this up, mate. You ready to wrap it up?
Yeah. Sorry.
No problem. Okay, so have you been watching Quantum Leap?
No, I have not seen a single episode. I can't even keep up with Lord of the Rings and Andor as much as I would love to.
Well, I've been watching Quantum Leap. It's okay, but episode 3 is coming out now. But the problem is that they're doing in the original Quantum Leap, they never did a present day storyline. Everything was about the past. Sam Beckett jumping from body to body. The whole story about having to resolve an issue so you can jump Quantum Leap into another body. In this series, you're getting a present day storyline, which kind of means that it doesn't matter what happens in the past. He's eventually going to leap, but so we can get another story the following week with him doing some shit in the past, whilst we follow the present day storyline as well. And I'm not sure I like the present day storyline, because it kind of takes away from the past, the leaping storyline. So they've got 2 storylines going and stuff like that. And this show hasn't got the sort of budget and scope of a HBO, where stuff can be quite, where the cinematography and the look of the show can be really amazing. This show does look like it's made for television. It really does, the budget and everything about it, So it's got a bit of a CW vibe about it, So
yeah, that's definitely not going to get me interested in it. I mean, I think there was 2 or 3 episodes where they have any scenes in the future in the original Quantum Leap. I think the first episode or 2 does, and then I think there's a season finale in there somewhere where they go back to the future again.
Well, there's an episode where Al and Sam, they swap places.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then you see Sam interacting with his wife again and stuff like that, and he's loving it because Al's now going to be doing all the leaping, and he can now do the Al role, but eventually he has to swap places with Al to save Al's life, and he ends up leaping again. So I did like it. I did. By the way, sorry. What I liked about, a lot of people weren't happy that Sam never returned home. I said that Sam never wanted to return home because he knew he was making the world a better place by restoring people's lives and making people's lives better by saving lives or whatever, or changing history. So he decided to give up his life to leap and repair the world by going into different bodies and fixing problems. That's why he never returned home. He's a hero. And that's my explanation to that. The final episode was amazing, by the way. Also, it was one of the few shows I watched where at that particular time I saw a season finale. Back then, if a series would go on forever, and then when it failed, it get cancelled. This show actually ended, and that was so amazing. Yeah. You know what I mean? So anyway,
we think of Twin Peaks, and the sadness was the end of that season or the show.
I vaguely remember Twin Peaks anymore now. I just remember Cherry Pie and the guy walking through the. Oh, really?
Yeah.
David Lynch stuff is fucking nuts, man.
Somebody convinced me to watch it. I'm like, okay, fine. I'm going to finally watch this. I hear so many good things about it. Watched it. And I was like, what the fuck? There's no fucking ending. Fuck this shit. I feel like I wasted
Yeah.
a goddamn fucking week of my life watching a goddamn story with no fucking ending. It's like, who the
It's
fuck gives
basically,
a fuck?
yeah, it's a murder investigation that goes off the walls, man. You know what I mean? So
Yeah, well, it was great at the beginning. I was like, yeah, let's find out where this goes. Oh, it goes fucking nowhere.
a bit like Lost. Like I couldn't handle Lost anymore. I gave up after 3 seasons.
Dude,
Like
Lost is fucking phenomenal, and I love the ending to it, and I don't care what anyone says.
I just like I felt like I was getting more. I got lost in. There's no pun intended. I got lost in like what wasn't being resolved because everything that was there was more stuff unanswered than there was answers. You know, and I just got fed up with it. I'm getting. I feel like I'm not getting any payoffs here. You know, I've stuck with the show for a long time. The other people came along and said that was interesting, but even that ended up not being that interesting after a while. You know,
Yeah,
and so
there's
I just got fed up with it.
in that show.
And it ended up being a bit. It went the supernatural elements of it and stuff like that was more than I wanted it to be. I just wanted about people surviving on the island. Next, you know, we got fucking ghosts and monsters and time travel and it's like fuck this, man. You know what I
That's
mean?
all that keeps me interested. I don't give a fuck about people lost on an island. It's just it's
It's the
boring.
same. It's the same with like the man in the Iron Castle or man in the highest tower or what the fuck it's called, the Nazi one.
Yeah, I haven't
Yeah,
watched.
like it was. I watched the first season. I only watched the first season, but then it had like this element to it which I didn't appreciate, and it was basically like, what if the Nazis won the World War? What the
Yeah,
world would look like, and that was a really fascinating element. But then it went down a particular path that I thought to myself, no, just don't go there. Just keep it as alternative history. Don't go there. You know what I mean? But they did, and it's like, okay, I'm not interested anymore.
okay, tell me where. I don't. I'm never gonna watch the show. So just spit it
Basically
out.
the people find out that there's a universe where the Nazis lost and they won the war. They see all this film footage of the Nazis losing and the rest of the world winning, and so they realize that there's an alternative world out there where they would have won. And so it made me realize this is stupid. You know, like
Okay.
this is stupid. Like why do that? Just keep it as the
Right.
Nazis won, the rest of the world lost, and what the world would be like under Nazi rule and the Japanese rule and stuff like that. You
Right.
know, and
It's like trying to fight the resistance there. Yeah.
yeah,
You have,
exactly. And like you got like certain people who are Jewish are still keeping themselves undercover, who are only praying to themselves privately and stuff like that. And like you see that the Japanese have basically conquered the west coast of America and the east coast of America, and most of the Central America is conquered by the Nazis. They killed disabled people and they basically enslaved all the Africans. You know, like it's fucked. You know, but like
yeah.
I said, they then go down this particular route, and it's like, they made it a bit too science fictiony, and it's like, no. I want to just be alternative history. It's a bit like when they brought the aliens in Indiana Jones 4. Like, what the fuck are you doing? You know what I mean?
I honestly, I don't feel that was such a stretch. I'm sorry, but you have. I mean, in the one before that, you've got the tomb of Christ being a real thing with curses and
It wasn't the tomb of Christ; it was the Ark of the Covenant.
whatever.
Yeah, I mean, this was before Jesus Christ was even born. You know, I mean, it was
It
during the
was,
era of Moses.
but they had some
Yeah,
stupid religious bullshit that they treated like it was real. So why not aliens? Is that really that far of a
no,
stretch?
because it's supposed to be. I don't mind it, but what my issue was the fact that they stopped using real locations and they stopped using everything became green screens and stuff like that. Whilst the good thing about let me just read this guy's comment. Do you think the white work will help the blacks? What are you on about? Have you not? We're talking about the man in the Iron Castle or whatever it's called, the man
Yeah.
in the high tower. That series about when the Nazis won the war. You think the white one will help the blacks in the Dance of the Dragon? Oh, okay. The white worm. Who the hell is the white worm?
Um. Yeah. Who the hell is White Worm?
Who the hell is the white worm?
Help the blacks.
And the blacks is the Targaryens. Is the white worm Larry Strong?
No, I think it has something to do with Blood Raven. I thought it was several hundred years later, or several years later at the very least. White Worm. I'm just gonna Google this right now. Just White Worm, House of Dragon. What the fuck are we talking? Oh, Massaria. Okay, yeah. So that's that is the chick who was playing at Magic or whatever, and their brothers thought she was weird.
The White Worm. I need to Google this as well.
Yeah. Oh no. My bad. No, Massaria is it was Damon's first lover in the beginning of the series. He's got that lover, and he's all
Oh
like,
yes, yeah.
You can't get pregnant, dick.
The whole basically, yeah.
But she's supposed to
Yeah.
be some sort of a witch too. So
I heard she was more like somebody who had an ear to the street and stuff like that, had lots of helpers and stuff like that. That's what I kind of saw with that kid ousted Rhaenyra for fucking in the brothel with her uncle.
yeah.
So,
but yeah, I think so. I think this should be on their side. I mean, if anyone, I'm assuming the Black Dragons is the Rhaenyra's line. They haven't gotten into it in the show yet. I've been trying to not read the book, so I'm not spoiled. So I think you're kind of a little bit ahead of us there, Silver Souls.
just going back to Indiana Jones 4, my problem with that film, I mean, I'm the biggest Indiana Jones fan possible. I've been fancy dressed twice as him. I love the original trilogy, but I just felt like the look of the film didn't have the same sort of vibe as the first three movies. The cinematography of it, the look of it, the sets, the locations. Like there's a part where they're going through a jungle with this giant machine which cuts trees. They're trying to make up to pave a road. It did not look authentic at all. I mean, like they were in African countries when they made Raiders of the Lost Ark and Last Crusade. They went to Sri Lanka to represent India when they went to do Temple of Doom, and they built a proper set for the Temple of Doom itself. No green screen bullshit. Obviously, there was in a couple of places they couldn't help themselves. But I wanted, I like nothing felt authentic. Like they were in real places. It looked all like you wanted like one of the good things about some of the Star Wars stuff we're getting, they're using more like with the Mandalorian and stuff. They're using model work and stuff like that. They give you that feel of the original trilogy. They need to start harkening back to some of the older traditions of what made these films so popular. But everything's on a green screen now, and it just looks shit. You know what I mean?
No, I don't actually know if I agree with you. I mean, maybe specifically that film, it was definitely, back when green screen was still, they were working some of the bugs out of it. I mean, you go back and you watch the Star Wars prequels, and you can see they're working the bugs out of it. But I don't necessarily.
And that was 10 years. That was 10 years earlier. But not all films are like. Not all films.
So I don't really have an attachment to the series, so I can't say I noticed it in the one time that I've watched that movie. So I guess it didn't really bother me, but I guess if you're really trying to look for things and it's a beloved series, you're maybe paying a little more attention. It's going to bother you, but I don't know, dude. Whatever. I think that movie gets shit on a lot more than it deserves.
Also, like the Russians being like the shoe-in for the Germans. Like it felt it's honestly like it just felt so bad. Like everything like this is like really trying to recreate the magic when it shouldn't have to recreate it. It should be the magic. You got Harrison Ford. You got Carrie Allen back. You got a couple of decent actors in Shia LaBeouf and oh god, the bloody British actor's name escapes me now. Who plays Mac. You've got John Hurt as well in it as well. You got some good cards. This should work. You got Kate Blanchett. I fucking love Kate Blanchett. How did this not work? Bloody giant crystal skull and all that. And when they put it on the head and the alien went like this, and it's like, oh my god, what am I watching? I mean, like no.
I think I honestly, I as an outside perspective, I feel like most people's upset with the alien more so than anything else about that movie. Well, that Shia LaBeouf was getting shit on at that time too.
Well, he was swinging through the fucking trees like Tarzan and stuff like that, catching up with cars. It just like.
Well, that's a pretty Indiana Jones there.
it wasn't even like even before the aliens came in on the scene. It just felt like it just didn't feel as good as the others. And all the stuff I've mentioned, yeah, for this particular film, I do have an issue with it regarding green screens and stuff like that. I do have an issue, not with every film. Some films it does work. Obviously, stuff like the avatars and stuff like that, there's a place for it. But for this film, you need real locations, real sets, and less special effects. Build a fucking set. You know what I mean? Not a green screen. But anyway, I'm yabbering on. We've gone on way too long on this shit. I think we should wrap it up.
That's the third time you said that.
Yeah. Okay. So I'll be back tomorrow talking about Quantum Leap episode 3 from season 1. Join me for that. I might be doing it on my own. I might be doing it with Commodore Boone if he's finished mowing his lawn. So check me out for that. And obviously, Andor, you need to catch up on that, Jake.
I do. I really do. Though honestly, Wednesday at best I can make every other review. So Wednesday's a hard day.
Okay. Yeah, we'll be on episode 5 on Andor. Lower Deck Star Trek. You're not into that?
I don't do Star Trek. There's not enough space wizards.
All right. Depends, but
I'm a fantasy guy. That's why I want the magic up north. That's why I want like dragons and I'm into Lord of the Rings. I love fantasy and fantastical elements. And the more grounded it gets, the more I hate it. Which is why as soon as you mentioned the alternate reality that matches ours in that stupid High Castle show, I was like, I'm out. I don't give a fuck about some other reality spying our dimension. I know what the fuck happens in our dimension. It's all boring as motherfucking shit. I don't give a fuck about our dimension. I don't give a fuck about the future of our dimension because it's going to continue to be goddamn boring shit. And we're never going to have anything fucking fun or interesting ever happen in this world. I accepted that part of reality when I was about 13. And ever since then, I don't care if it's not fantasy.
Fair enough. Well, I'll see you for She-Hulk then on Friday.
All right, Matt. I'll see you really soon for She-Hulk. Like I said, hopefully somewhere in the middle, I'll get to swinging and say.
By the way, did you like that? I never got to ask. Did you like that previous episode
of the House of Dragons here?
No, She-Hulk.
Oh, She-Hulk. Yeah. No, I did have a good time with it. I know that people are saying the last 2 episodes are filler, but I think filler is what creates stories sometimes. It's how you get bonded to a character. People say, well, you don't have a character arc because there's too many episodes. There's not enough episodes for a character arc. Well, there's not enough episodes for a character arc because you bitched if things are filler. And I think that it did them well. I had a good time with them. I'm trying to think of specifically what the last episode was. Oh, yeah.
Emil Blonsky.
I really liked the whole Emil Blonsky's thing.
I loved it.
I think it's a good setup because I'm pretty sure he's rotten. I'm pretty sure everyone at that retreat is at least mildly rotten.
Really? I'm hoping for the best. I really am. I want Emil Blonsky to have turned a new leaf. I really do. I really hope he's a good. There's so many things now that make me think maybe I was wrong about him. Because
it's how quickly they wanted her to delete that dude's number. And then at the end of the episode, they find out the dude's really a bad guy and was stealing her shit. And so because dude's all like, yeah, delete her phone number, it just screams that he's all like, cover my dude's tracks. So
that's a good point. I have to give it to you. That's a good point.
I think there's a whole web of people trying to deceive her, and I think it includes one of her coworkers, the one chick who was her lawyer in that other episode, who's a coworker of hers. I think it's her. I think it's the dude from the blind date who's all sketchy and also a client of her coworker. I think it's the guy who she tried to date from the wedding, and there's all these people that are just they're all part of a network together, that intelligentsia.
I'm not sure about the co-workers because they all saw they were surprised when they saw the evil website, which was
she dead. Wasn't surprised, and she's all like, don't tell Jen about people wanting to kill her.
Oh, maybe that person, but Nikki is not in on it.
Nikki's great. No, I'm talking about the one who represented her in the defamation case, or in the not defamation, but the
I know what you mean. The Mr. Invincible or whatever. Yeah. The guy who couldn't die. Well, hopefully he'll get Daredevil now.
Did that guy, yeah.
Yeah, like a lot of people are saying, "Oh no, we haven't seen Daredevil for 2 episodes," but he got teased 2 episodes ago. In the last 2 episodes, they haven't seen him, so people are saying, "I'm going to stop watching this show." I'm thinking to myself, you do know this is a She-Hulk show. This is not a Daredevil show.
Right.
You know, like you're watching this for She-Hulk, not for Daredevil. And so far we've got 3 massive cameos in Bruce Banner, Emil Blonsky, and Wong. Be happy that you got those guys in this show already. You
I
know what I
have
mean? So
I have not been disappointed by an episode of this show, and it's like I said last time I was able to make it to the review. This show knows what it is. It knows what it's trying to be, and I think it nails that. I think there are a lot of people who want the show to be something else, and it's not hitting it for them. But
I thought the wedding episode was shit, personally.
Look at it as a rom-com with superheroes, and all of a sudden it starts to hit the marks. From at least that was my opinion.
Well, I look at it as Sex and the City and Ally McBeal and all of that sort of stuff as a superhero show, and that's how I'm watching it. And I don't mind. I think Tatiana Maslany is comically brilliant in this show as well as She-Hulk and as Jennifer Walters. But regardless, I thought every episode was good except for the wedding episode. I thought that was pretty stupid. You know what I mean? But other than that, it's been okay. I did like the last episode. I thought it was very sweet. It really was, and I'm really hoping, even though you make some excellent points, I'm hoping, keep my fingers crossed, because I'm not the biggest fan of bad guys turning good, but I do like Emil Blonsky's face turn. I think his face turn's a good one. I really hope and Tim Roth. Tim Roth is just Tim Roth, isn't it? Like the guy's fucking fantastic, Mr. Orange himself. Hey garçon, coffee. You know what I mean? I love Tim Roth. You know what I mean? He just
He's great. He is nailing the role. I absolutely love it, and I think that he might have some real character growth, but I'm kind of seeing more so a character growth where he's learned to embrace the side of him, this emotionally strong side of him. But even in that embracement of this emotional strength and helping other people on their emotional journey, he still needs to get paid. So he's going to do some illegal shit in the background because that's what he does, and that's his thing. And that's just part of the nature of the beast. And I can kind of see that meld, and I think that'll be fucking genius because
if
Tim
it does,
Roth can pair off that kind of complex character.
I'll be upset if it does, but at the same time, I could appreciate it if they do it well, because the guy had the chance to escape from prison if he wanted to, and he didn't. So, and he's now under house arrest. So, if he's still going to do a criminal turn and be noticed for it, then it better be done right. That's what I'm saying. If they got if you're gonna if all this time he was evil all along and a bad guy with a long game plan, it better make sense. That's all I'm saying. So, all right. Thank you very much, Jake, for joining me. It's been a fantastic chat. I've had a good time. And thank you everyone else out there for listening to our prolonged debate, not only on House of Dragons, but everything else. So don't forget to like, share, subscribe to NerdTube, the greatest YouTube channel you never heard of. Take care and goodbye. May the force be with you.
Peace.